What is happening, ladies and gentlemen? Trey here, and today at Reactions to the Classics, it is part 5 of 5 in our series that our longtime patron and friend of the channel, Asmund, is taking us through, looking at the top 10 songs of various portions of Joni Mitchell's career. And today we are bringing it to a close here. I've really been enjoying this these lists that Asmund is curating. And today, part 5, going from 1994 to 2007, encompassing the latter part of her career here. So it's going to be a treat, as always, to dive in to the great Joni Mitchell and her unbelievable songwriting abilities here, man. And without further ado, man, let's just get into these quick facts here. Asmund noted in 1994, Joni divorced her husband, Larry Klein, who appeared all over in part 4 of this list. Although they kept working together on her albums, her 94 record, Turbulent Indigo, became her biggest commercial success since the 70s, an upsurge in her career which took her by surprise. This part covers the period from this newfound success until she more or less went into retirement after the release of Shine in 2007. As always, this list is meant as a personal subjective top 10 from the period, and your top 10 might look totally different. And as always, we'd love to hear from you, your favorite songs from Joni in this time. As always, gonna have the lyrics pulled up, and due to copyright, a lot of the time this Joni stuff gets blocked, unfortunately. But there will be a full link in the description, so you can check out Vimeo with the full video with the music included. Shout out to the patrons like Asmund who help us get that server space on there, so to provide that link to everybody for free, man. And let's just kick this thing off. Number 10 on this list, Sex Kills from Turbulent Indigo, which we were just talking about in 94. Asmund noted in this song she continues her trend from the 1980s, where she became more focused on writing topical songs. This song references a number of late 20th century issues like violence, AIDS, global warming, and consumerism. So thanks again to Asmund. I'm ready for this list, and let's get after it. All right, Sex Kills. What a way to kick off this list, man. With Joni pulling no punches on here. Starting off musically, I thought the reverb guitar was pretty strong, and the electric guitar throughout was nice to complement the piano on here. And yet again, those drums, they're very prominent in the mix as well, to kind of give a little bit of oomph, which is what you want on a tune like this, man. She notes, even in that first verse, she goes up, see some license plate that says just ice, and then she questions, a little play on words here, is justice just ice, governed by greed and lust, just the strong doing what they can and the weak suffering what they must. I thought that was really really strong. She notes the oil spills, and then we get into the play on words about the sex sells everything, and then sex kills, obviously talking in the time she's writing about the AIDS crisis that was just so so new and rampant and scary. And then she notes just the everyday struggles from these doctor visits, these bills that are bearing you like an avalanche, the lawyers coming in, the balance is undone, and then you can feel it out in traffic. Everyone hates everyone, and I'll tell you here, man, here in the Dallas, Texas area, just a brutal place to drive. So many so many people, and it's just people cutting in and out. So I resonated with you there, Joni. That's for sure. And then a bit prophetic in the line, the tragedies in the nurseries, little kids packing guns to school. I mean, at the time she was writing this in 94, man, how many school shootings have there been in the U.S. since then? Too many to count, unfortunately. So a strong way to start this list off, man. I like it, Asmund. And now we're going to Taming the Tiger right here at number 9 from the record, of course, of the same name that came out in 98. Asmund notes this song is a commentary on her unexpected success with her previous album, Turbulent Indigo, and how she is tired and doesn't recognize the music business anymore. She also comments on the lack of inventiveness in the contemporary pop music scene at the time. Taming the Tiger, just packed full of lyrics from the opening seconds really to the very end. I think musically the keyboards were quite interesting, gave a a bit of I don't know, a futuristic type of atmosphere. And I thought that the intricate layered vocal harmonies and the chorus as well were impressive. And I just liked Joni just being totally and brutally honest here about how she sees the world and the music business in particular. She notes, "I'm a runaway from the record biz, from the hoods in the hood and the whiny white kids." I thought that was a pretty strong line right there. She notes that, and she continues to build this whole tiger metaphor throughout the entire song. And as the verses go through, she notes, "Purring at your side, accolades and honors. One false move and you're a goner. You make one mistake or make one person in the industry, that one wrong person, mad. It could be the end for you, man. And that chorus boring. The old man is snoring and I'm taming the tiger." She notes too as well in that third verse, which is probably my favorite, about how she's just moving the dial up and down and nothing's really connected, man. Every song just a one night stand, formula music, genuine junk food for juveniles, taking down the modern day pop scene at her time, but in a way only Joni can, man. Just a poet with words right there. And at the end, she just notes, "I'm so sick of this game. It's hip, it's hot, life's too short, the whole thing's rotten." Here you can definitely tell a bit of that maturity in her voice as well as we go into that late 90s period. And I think that added a kind of that, it felt like you were getting that sage old wisdom right there as well. So I dug that tune, man. And now we're going to go to the first track on here from the Shine record in 2007. We have Bad Dreams. Asmund included a great interview portion here from Joni that she did on each song of Shine back in 2007. So Joni said, quote, "The chorus line, 'Bad dreams are good in the great plan,' came from my grandson, who said this when he was 3 years old. My daughter, grandson, and I went to go see a version of the Phantom of the Opera. He was really dressed up and behaved well through it, but they went to a restaurant afterwards, and he started to act up a little bit. To try to stop his tantrum, quote, I pointed to the theater across the street where the play had been performed and told him that the Phantom lives in a tunnel under the house. Basically, I was resorting to telling him a black fairy tale to keep him quiet. When he settled down, my daughter said, it's a wonder sometimes that he doesn't give me bad dreams. He responded by saying, but Mama, bad dreams are good in the great plan." At 3 years old, man, this dude just dropping wisdom. And I said, "How do you know that?" And he replied that he didn't know. "All I know is that this was one of the few profound things people have told me in person." She also notes the beginning of the song is based on a haiku that she had written, the only poetry she had written in 10 years. Quote, "The cats are in the flower bed, a red hawk rides the sky, a little dog is chewing on a book of matches. The little dog didn't fit the melody, but the rest did." It's true there's a sorrow and despair in this song, but it's factual. Rather than make a sad sack out of myself, I figured, let's talk turkey and face facts. It's not that I have a negative view, and I don't want people to think, oh, Joni, she's suffering. If people are seeing me confessing to something, they're missing the point of the song. Even though I'm using I'm hoping that people won't think this is autobiographical, but they will see themselves in it. Certainly, I see myself in that grocery list of failures, like being selfish, forgetting to be grateful, focusing on the me. As for the superhero saving the day, children growing up with these fantasy figures may end up being frustrated by this rough world. Fantasy escape may not necessarily be the best toy for the troubles that lie ahead. Man, just some wonderful insight from the woman herself right there. So let's tee this up. All right, Bad Dreams. Again, Joni not holding anything back. I love the wisdom that she was sharing here. Voice took me back in a sense, I hadn't really heard any of her songs with her voice kind of that age, but I warmed up to it quite quickly and, started off with that haiku portion. And she knows, I guess I should be happy just to be alive, but we have poisoned everything. And oblivious to it all, the cell phone zombies babble through the shopping malls. Yet again, this written in 2007. She was quite prophetic. Didn't even foresee the smartphone revolution that would occur, and now has really changed the world in a humongous sense. And I like this too in the fact that she's pointing out where we have fallen down, and she's not absolving herself in this either. She notes, you go deaf and dumb and blind. You take with such entitlement. You give bad attitude. You have no grace, no empathy, no gratitude, which you see all the time. And I just think social media even though I've connected with so many people, of course, through social media. It's just been such a negative in so many ways in society as well. I've felt this, especially in the past couple of years. There's no grace, no empathy for people anymore. It seems like it's just off with their heads, and that communication, especially when it happens online, just you say stuff you would never say to somebody in person, man. And she continues going on. We get a little biblical allusions, I think, in here with before that altering apple, we were one with everything, no sense of self and others, no self-consciousness. But now we have to grapple with our man-made world backfiring, keeping one eye on our brother's deadly selfishness. Man, so much to unpack there, so much wisdom packed into just 7 lines right there. And we kind of continue the Genesis allusions here, saying there's so very little left of wild Eden earth. And we live in these electric scabs. Like, Joni just has such a way with words to put in these broad concepts into a way that just strikes up a visual in your mind that you can resonate with and connect to quite easily. So a really, really lovely song right there. And won't be the last time a Shine track appears on this list, man. So now we're going to go to Sometimes I'm Happy from a record from Both Sides now in 2000. Asmund noted it was originally written in 1925 from the hit musical Hit the Deck by Irving Caesar and Clifford Gray. The Both Sides Now album is a concept record which traces the progress of the modern relationship through Joni's orchestral renditions of classic jazz songs, as well as 2 of her other older songs as well, from Both Sides Now being one of those, of course. So let's cue this one up, man. I'm looking forward to this. All right, Sometimes I'm Happy. Obviously, that jazz instrumentation apparent from the jump, man. That double bass thumping, the horn section very prominent as well, multiple times throughout this track. As I was talking about as the song was going on, I think Joni's older, mature voice fits this. It makes me think of a jazz bar-esque type of situation, and I enjoyed some of the lines in here. The sometimes I love you, sometimes I hate you. When I hate you, it's because I love you. Some of those oxymorons in there that on the surface don't make sense, but in the context, as Asmund noted, as this record is describing the modern relationship, it makes sense, man. It makes sense. And I like the sometimes I'm happy, sometimes I'm blue. Obviously just a way to describe sad, but you can't hear the word blue from Joni Mitchell and not obviously think of one of the great records of all time, her own Blue. Man, not going to end up, I don't think, amongst my favorites, but that's not to say that I dislike the song by any means. I am getting more and more into jazz myself personally, and as we've gone through these lists, we've seen the influence that like the great Charles Mingus has had on Mitchell and her career as well. So I like that she, at this point in her career, is dipping, still dipping into those jazzy arrangements, man. It suits her well. And next, we're gonna go now to the song "If" from Shine. Ladies and gentlemen, I said some more Shine was coming up. Number 6 on this list. And this song is inspired by the Rudyard Kipling poem, If. In 2007, Joni said about the track, "My friend called me up and read the Rudyard Kipling poem to me over the phone. As soon as I heard it, it resonated with me and I wanted to set it to music. I love the opening line, if you can keep your head while all about you, people are losing theirs and blaming you." So I wrote down the words, went to my house in Vancouver, and made a song of it. It's the only song that I wrote up there on the guitar. The poem is written from a soldier's perspective, so I rewrote some of the poetry. Kipling wrote, "If we can fill the journey of a minute with 60 seconds worth of a distance run, then you'll be a man, my son." I disagree with him philosophically speaking that endurance gives you the inheritance of the earth. My experience tells me that the earth is innocence with wonder and delight, which is renewable. The blue heron on my property flies overhead and I'm a 3-year-old. I'm filled with wonder and delight, so I rewrote that part of the poem as if you can fill the journey of a minute with 60 seconds worth of wonder and delight. Kipling's version is macho. I wanted to get the feminine principle into the poetry. And I could just sit here and read Joni's descriptions of her songs, man. I love that she has all these quotes about these later tunes as well. It's a real treat to kind of get into her process. So let's cue this one up. All right, if bringing it here, man, yet again, quite enjoyed the arrangement on this one. Very relaxing atmosphere here, but also threw in a bit of a synth, I believe, in there, which I thought was kind of tight as well. Gave it a bit of a different dimension, but obviously here the highlight is the lyricism taken from, inspired by that Kipling If poem, which reminded me one of my favorite bands called Brand New, a 2000s kind of a punk and alternative rock group, also was inspired by the Kipling poem If for their song Sowing Season. So especially in verse 4, it made me think of that track, man. So it's so cool to see musicians what their inspirations are here, and just diving into it, bits of wisdom in this track here. Like, if you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make intellect your game, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same. Really throughout this whole track, what I'm getting is that whole adage of don't get too high, don't get too low. That's the theme that's in here. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, so to speak. And when something's going good, don't get on your high horse because you know you could get knocked down. And conversely, whenever you're down, don't try to, as she mentions in here, try to have that will to get back up and keep on fighting, so to speak. In the end, I really enjoyed what I quoted at the start. If you can fill the journey of a minute with 60 seconds worth of wonder and delight, then the earth is yours and everything that's in it. But more than that, I know you'll be all right. I love that way to kind of wrap up the song, talking about all these different topics, and then at the end of the day, knowing, all right, if you kind of can keep that childlike wonder, keep that delight of life, you're going to be all right no matter what is thrown your way, because you've got the fight and you've got the insight. Well, after listening to this track, Joni, I think I got the insight right now. I quite enjoyed that one, man, and that may or may not be the last Shine tune that we have here, as we're halfway through the list. Moving up now to Be Cool, number 5. Gonna kick it on the album Travelogue from 2002, which Asmund notes is filled with the same orchestral arrangements as her previous record, Both Sides Now, but instead of jazz standards, she rearranged a lot of her old songs for this double record. Be Cool is originally from Wild Things Run Fast from 1982, but here's given a cool swinging jazz arrangement. Right, Be Cool, Joni Mitchell in here. I enjoyed the fact that this song, man, they really let that instrumentation breathe. Had that jazzy where we kind of introduce each instrument there at the start. I thought the piano player on this was the MVP, man, but also enjoyed and enjoyed the horn sections that again came up quite prominently, man, and just kind of whenever you hear the swing jazz, I just always think of black and white old school Hollywood movies for some reason, and that's the vibe I was getting on this song. And we almost kind of continue some of the obviously not knowingly, but some of the lyrical themes of If that we just had in this one, man. Really just true to the name. You gotta be cool no matter what the situation is. Charm them, don't alarm them, keep things light, keep your worries out of sight, and play it cool. Play it cool, 50-50, fire and ice. Notes that don't get them riled, smile, keep it light, be your own best friend tonight, and play it cool. Don't get jealous or overzealous. Kiss off that flaky Valentine. You're nobody's fool. Lots of other fish in the sea. Man, just yet again shows the wide variety of musical arrangements that Joni can put her voice in, and her vocal delivery here was true to the name. It was very cool and relaxed, man, and that was just one you could kind of get lost in my opinion. So next up, we are going to number 4 on the list. Gonna hit a little Turbulent Indigo back up with the Magdalene Laundries. That's a great title right here. Asmund noted that Joni told about the backstory and origin of the song on a Canadian TV show called Intimate and Interactive in 1994, noting, Quote, I live in British Columbia as much as I possibly can. Because I'm absent sometimes, I have a man named Hans. He and his family caretake my place, and Hans, sucking on his pipe, said to me one day, you know, Joni, you're basically a cheerful person, but you write these melancholy songs. It seems to me you should write more in daylight. You should, because you always write at night. So I sat out in the sun on a rock, tuned my guitar to the sound of that day because I play in open tuning. So I tuned to the crows and the seagulls and the sonic references available. And it was a fairly cheerful chord progression. Well, you know, a little melancholy in it because beauty has a little. But anyway, I intended to write a quite cheery lyric to it while I went to the supermarket to get my groceries, and standing in the line between the Inquirer and the Star was the Vancouver Sun, and I never bought a paper in my whole life. What possessed me, I don't know, but I picked this paper up and I never got past the first page. To the left hand of the page was a story out of Ireland that the Sisters of Our Lady of Charity outside of Dublin, which was a nunnery, had sold 11.5 acres to realtors. The realtors, in plowing this land for development, unearthed over 100 bodies in unmarked graves, thus opening up a scandal that had rocked Dublin from, they said, 1800 to 1970. These laundries were closed. Basically, the Magdalene Laundries, which stood outside of every major Irish town and maybe some minor ones, employed, or rather took as slave labor, fallen women. Fallen women were classified as the obvious, I guess, prostitutes, unmarried mothers frequently impregnated by their parish priest, their father, their brother. But the worst of all was that an unmarried woman in her late 20s, if the men of the village looked at her, she could be deemed a Jezebel by the parishioners, even her own family. Man, this took a dark turn, didn't it, people? For her indecisiveness in choosing a mate, and incarcerated for life, for at least until someone managed to get her out of there. This was cheap labor. Dickinsonian conditions was a way it was described there with my cheerful song. So this is the story of the Magdalene Laundries. Wow. We're going to be in for a heavy one, ladies and gentlemen. What a backstory to this one. Wow, the Magdalene Laundries, what a powerful tune this was, ladies and gentlemen. Definitely my favorite track up to this point, the arrangement-wise. We just had that, guitar just slowly propelling us through. I thought it was like at the perfect tempo, perfect speed for Joni's cadence as well. Had a bit keyboards underneath, so all that worked. But obviously here the power is in those words here. We get introduced to an unmarried girl. I just turned 27 when they sent me to the sisters, for the way men looked at me, branded as a Jezebel. So I'm really glad that Asmund included that quote that we had before the song, giving us context for this. I knew I was not bound for heaven. I'd be cast in shame into the Magdalene Laundries. And then I think the most powerful lines, man, most girls come here pregnant, some by their own fathers. Bridget got that belly by her parish priest. And she mentions Peg as well later on. I think whenever you add like an actual name to it, even if these weren't actual real life people, even if you just say instead of her or she or whatever, you put a name to it, it just, I think, adds even a bigger weight, I think, to all these atrocities that happen to them. And she continues to note that they're looked at as destitute, temptresses. Joni asked the question, why do they call this heartless place Our Lady of Charity? That is a great question. Describes them as bloodless brides of Jesus. Ooh, I thought that line was quite fiery as well. And she notes that they just stuff these people in a hole. Surely to God, you'd think at least some bells should ring. One day I'm going to die here too, and they'll plant me in the dirt, like some lame bulb that never blooms come any spring. Ooh, that's interesting. Where we have a bit of a melody that is a bit cheerier at points, and yet Joni just took that and got that inspiration and just went and ran with this heavy story and shined a light on it, man. So really powerful song right there. I'm sure that's going to end up amongst my favorites come the end of this video. And now we are in the top 3, ladies and gentlemen. Coming to number 3, going back to Taming the Tiger with Man from Mars, about David Bowie, right? Asmund notes in a 1998 article by Edna Gunderson, Joni explains the story of this song. Quote, on Man from Mars, a a lament about a loved one who's abandoned her. Joni pines, there is no center to my life now, no grace in my heart. At first, she had declined a request to pen a mournful tune for the Grace of My Heart soundtrack, insisting, I'm not a hack, I have to feel what I write. She reconsidered after her beloved tomcat, Nietzsche, seen in Mitchell's self-portrait on the cover of Taming the Tiger, ran away from home. Quote, the grief that I felt in his absence coincided with the grief of the character in the movie. And any of you that have ever had a cat or a dog, you know, that I had my 2 dogs back in the day run away, and it was tough, man. It was tough. Thankfully, we found them, but it was tough. Nietzsche, by her account, is quite a character himself. I called him Man from Mars because he's a little lavender lion who looks like an alien and walks on his hind legs as an expression of affection for me. She says of the yellow-eyed Abyssinian mix. He's a real fraidy cat and very devoted to me. He's romantic, but you can't snuggle him. He'd give me these deep, long looks and chew on my hair while I rubbed his head. The absence of that ritual left a big hole. He vanished after a spat increased by the cat's habit of piddling on floors. Mitchell finally cracked, scolding, if you're going to act like an animal, you're going to live like one. Then she grabbed him by the stump of his tail and scruff of his neck, held him at arm's length, and marched him outdoors. He was too offended to return, she says. Night after night, she called to him from her yard and waited. The song's delicate sounds would mimic what she heard, the rustling of leaves, bird songs, the drone from a distant freeway. The love story has a happy ending. Mitchell relates, it took me 17 days to write this song, and the night I finished it, my amazing little man cat appeared in a neighbor's yard. I retrieved him. That was kind of mystical. When I found him, he just yelled at me, almost hyperventilating by telling me off. So I yelled back in his language, you know, meow, meow, meow. When I changed to coaxing tones, he stopped yelling and went belly up. Well, I'm glad we had a happy end to this story. That is it's quite the coincidence right there, man, that she finished the song the same day he came home. That's cool. All right, Man from Mars bringing it yet again. Enjoyed that arrangement with the keyboards kind of going in heavy, and there's a bit of a pain I felt here in Joni's voice here, and obviously that fit the lyricism, really just describing what I talked about, where Nietzsche, her cat was gone, man, and but very emotional lyrics too. I fall apart every time I think of you, swallowed by the dark. There is no center to my life now. Again, that poetic nature, the way with the words that Joni has is pretty much unmatched, man. No grace in my heart, Man from Mars. This time you went too far. In my favorite line, I call and call. The silence is so full of sounds that, again, that paradox in there. The silence is so full of sounds. You're in them all. Not much more to add there other than that I really enjoyed that, and yet again hearing these backstories and getting that context really just adds a dimension, man, to that artistic expression that Joni was going with. And now we're up to number 2, ladies and gentlemen. I said we'd return to it, and thus we're going title track to the record Shine. We have Shine. Joni said about this track in an interview of this record, quote, these lyrics were born over a period of time, and the song could have been 14 minutes long instead of 7. In a sense, Shine is reminiscent of that old Sunday school song about letting your light shine. I heard the words of the chorus first, but I didn't know what the song was going to be about. When I recorded it, I was sick, so a doctor prescribed some penicillin, which I had an allergic reaction to. Hey, Joni, I'm allergic to it as well. I was delirious, stressed out, and we worked all night long. I was so delirious that I was playing way back on the beat. The tone of it reminds me of the Blue album. I was so very sick when I recorded that. When I was inducted into the Canadian Songwriters Hall of Fame in Toronto in 2007, I had demos of the Shine songs with me and played them to some friends at a party afterward. James Taylor told me that he had to play on this song. I wasn't sure if anyone could because it was created in such a rare spirit, but James came in anyway, and I asked him to play short figures like a saxophone. So you can hear fractions of James' guitar playing here. The epic Shine coming forth here, man. Yet again, I think the highlight is in the words that Joni says, but it does have that very mellow, relaxing arrangement that's been through, honestly, a lot of this list, and seems to be a feature of her later career here. I did enjoy the points in the chorus where you heard James Taylor on that acoustic guitar kind of a breaking through there, just a little bit though, not overpowering, and you kind of got to be ready to listen for it. But and Joni here, man, just pretty much broaches any topic you could think of, starting with Vegas and Wall Street, then switching gears from that lavish and colorful lifestyle, then to shine on to the fishermen with nothing in their nets, then shine on science with its tunnel vision. Takes some shots at science, takes some shots at organized religion later on as we go through. We note shine on good earth, good air, good water, and a safe place for kids to play. And then again, we a lot of in this track we have these opposites going. We have then shine on bombs exploding half a mile away. Talks about the traffic jams. Shine on the Catholic Church and the prisons that it owns. Shine on all the churches they all love less and less. Then we finish it out noting shine on dying soldiers and patriotic pain. Shine on mass destruction in some God's name. Shine on the pioneers, those seekers of mental health. Craving simplicity, they traveled inward, past themselves. May all their little lights shine. I just enjoy that simple refrain. May all your little lights shine. Such an easy concept to grasp, but she delves it out so deep in the verses, man. So great song right there, and we're gonna finish with another 7-minute track here. Number 1, ladies and gentlemen, the culmination of 5 top 10 Joni Mitchell list. It has been a blast to go through, very rewarding, and we're gonna finish with the Sire of Sorrow, Job's sad song here, coming in at number 1, again from Turbulent Indigo. Asmund noted that Joni claims that she's a sufferer of Morgellons disease, a proposed side effect of Lyme infections, giving unpleasant skin sensations, chronic fatigue, joint pains, though the diagnosis is not scientifically proven and is said to be a psychological invention of the patients. Nonetheless, Joni and other sufferers claim that the problems keep them awake at night and rob them of a normal life. The song likens her struggles to the pain and loss of Job in the book of Job in the Old Testament. Very familiar with Job, and very familiar with the invisible illnesses. I have fibromyalgia, chronic pain, chronic fatigue, and for many decades that was not considered a valid illness. And in the past few decades, it's has been viewed in a different light in the medical community. And hopefully this Morgellons disease gets much the same. So I think this one might hit home for me. Let's get it. Wow, finishing off, really did save the best for last here, in my opinion, Osmond, the Sire of Sorrow, Job's sad song. A lot to unpack here, man. Starting with, I thought, again, the instrumentation was perfect for the, I think, the vibe and atmosphere that Joni was going for. I mean, you have the legendary Wayne Shorter on the saxophone on this track, man. He didn't come up much, but when he did, he made the most use of his time. I thought that was fantastic. And really, though, the highlight, yet again, we're letting Joni's words take center stage here. And she starts off noting that she's going to spit out her bitterness, born of grief and nights without sleep and festering flesh. So already from that, if you know the story of Job, he had so much. Had his wife, his kids, a lot of livestock, this and that. Satan goes up and says to God, I bet if I take all this away, he's going to despise you and turn away from you. God says you can do that as long as you don't kill him. And so everything gets taken away from Job. Job encounters 3 of his friends who, instead of being there to comfort Job, instead are there and kind of pointing the finger at him. Man, this must be a result of your sin. This must be a result of your wrongdoing. Essentially, you need to repent, this or that. Job's saying, I've been faithful. There's a lot of discussion to unpack in the 40 chapters of Job, man. It's quite the piece of literature, even if you're not a believer, man. But I thought she was able to incorporate that well with her own physical ailments, and that comparison to her and the Job-like story, I thought was quite strong. You had the backing vocals of almost those friends there. We don't despise your chastening. God is correcting you. They say, oh, all this ranting, all this wind filling our ears with trash, evildoer. just those types of lines that aren't helpful to a person who is in this anguish, in this pain. We had that refrain as well where Joni's talking to God. Oh, you tireless watcher, what have I done to you that you make everything I dread and everything I fear come true? She later questions as well, was it the sins of my youth? Help me understand. What is the reason of your heavy hand? She goes by and also talks about the pompous physicians. What carelessness, breathtaking ignorance, adding insult to injury. Wonderful rhyming as well in this track. Great alliteration. Just a song that especially hit home personally for me, man, as somebody in a similar position and somebody who also still has kept the faith even amidst the daily pain that ain't gonna go away type of deal. So really, really strong way to end this record off, man. And shout out to you, Asmund, not only for this top 10 list, but for this entire series. It's been such a treat for me to go through and listen to Joni Mitchell's catalog, not just the hits that I had already known, but to get really diving into some of these deeper cuts. Speaking of my favorite tracks, I'm just gonna go from top to bottom. I gotta go all the way back to number 10, Sex Kills. I quite enjoyed the subject matter there that Joni's just not afraid to tackle. I also have "If" by Shine. I just loved the way she was able to incorporate the Kipling poem in there. I thought that she did a great job and a solid arrangement on that. I'm also going to go keeping it with a little Turbulent Indigo, which I'm excited to listen to in full. I got to go with the Magdalene Laundries, and then I got to finish it, man. I got to finish it, obviously, with this last track, The Sire of Sorrow, Job's sad song. Really strong list that shows that Joni still had it up to the very end of her career, man. Still was able to really draw, I think, from those wise life experiences that you just get the longer you live and experience the world, man. That's what I was getting there. Maybe she didn't have the voice that she did back in the early 70s, but she made up for that, I think, and in that wisdom and those pearls she was able to drop in throughout these records, man. Really strong arrangements, like the jazzy flavor that we had in the middle of this list as well. Some keyboards were quite prominent, and of course the acoustic guitar and piano as well, driving a lot of these songs home, man. Still kept I think a strong voice as well, even up to Shine in 2007. So I want to shout out Asmund yet again for this top 10 list. Let me know your favorites from this period in Joni's career, and be sure to give Asmund some love and props for taking us on this journey and series, man. You can check out all our Joni Mitchell videos by checking out our Joni Mitchell playlist, or you can just search Joni Mitchell reactions to the classics and you'll have a bunch of stuff pop up. I will also try in the next 4 to 6 weeks, y'all, to pump out a Joni Mitchell discography ranking video as a bit of a capstone to this series, man. It's been fun. I've been going through the records as we've been going through these lists as well. So I'll be keeping an eye and ear out for that. Be sure to hit that big red subscribe button if you already aren't already, and hit that Patreon page up as well if you would like to support the channel in any way and maybe submit your own list or song for a reaction. It is in the description and will also be at the end screen here in just a second. I want to shout out again all the Joni Mitchell lovers out there, of which I am in that camp. And man, this has been fun. One of the great songwriters of all time. And man, long live her work, man. Until next time, thanks for watching, y'all. Happy listening, and I will see you.